Welcome back to the Tales of St. Gwen. Today will be about the Dark Eldar. And so to begin. Sitting atop a large marble statue of the Emperor, I looked through my scope at the warring battle below. It was a fluke accident that I had been on the planet with my commander, only stopping to refuel our nearly empty-tanked vessel when a rift appeared in the sky. Not just any rift, but a warp rift. Without hesitation, my commander and I sprung into action with the few sisters we had left, and got the citizens off the streets. By the time the ships got through the atmosphere and to the ground, we had already alerted the Militarum and went to meet the intruders. Drukhari, my commander spat. I had seen the ruins that were once cities, desolated by the Drukhari and its soldiers. The only things left behind were the half-eaten meals of the citizens. Drukhari, or Dark Eldar, are known by every species for their vile and disgusting habits. They were once part of the Eldar Empire. They were the ones who plunged their civilizations into the hands of Slaanesh, and instead of seeing the error of their ways, repenting for their vile actions, they disappeared into the warp to protect themselves from Slaanesh, and tortured others for their pleasure. The Militarum had been cut down easily by the Drukhari weapons, many men dying slowly and painfully from their poisoned weapons. My sisters and I tried to hold the line for as long as possible, but soon even we were overrun, and my commander called for a retreat. My commander put me on watch, sending me to keep an eye on the situation as she rallied more troops from the capital, and any others that could aid us. "What do you see?" My commander spoke, kneeling next to me in the hole that had been made during the battle. Drukhari pulling citizens out of their homes, funneling them into their ships like cattle. Reinforcements from the capital won't be here for another hour. The city will be gone by that point. Agreed. Which is why we are going to do something drastic. Climbing down from the statue, my commander placed a grenade into my hands. We only have one, so use it wisely. Without hesitation, I walked away from the small group that had gathered at the base of the statue, and back towards the burning city. My objective was clear: to use the grenade to buy us enough time till reinforcements arrived, and stop the Drukhari ships from leaving. Stealth had always been something I was gifted at, though I much preferred the sound of my bolter to the silence that was stealth. If this was a video game, something I had seen a young child playing once, I would fail in those missions all the time. I managed to sneak past the majority of the Drukhari troops, getting to where they landed their ships before pausing. I watched as they walked the Imperial citizens into the sheep like cattle, all of them having an air of victory already. Knowing I couldn't target the vessels where the citizens were being kept, I pushed forward to the larger ships. Then I encountered the true heart of the Drukhari forces, the leader of that group, their archon. Archons are an organization that serves as the heart of the standard Dark Eldar raiding force, as well as the Dark Eldar's primary political unit within the Dark City. I was curious as to why an archon would be found in such a simple raid party, but I would find out soon enough. Moving out of Ali's sight, I crouched behind rows of bushes till I was near the entrance to their sky-faring vessel. With careful movement, I slipped aboard the vessel and into the heart of their operation. While the other vessels had been slaves, bringers, assault boats, this was a blood claw cruiser, clearly meant for the elite of the party. Slowly, and oh so carefully, I placed the grenade under the ship's console, setting the timer so it would go off when I was safely off the ship, and gave us the distraction we needed. When I stood up and turned, I heard the door open, pulled my bolter out, ready to fire upon whomever came in. The archon swayed as he walked, as though drunk off his own victory, his helmet no longer atop his head. By his side was his incubi, the elite in combat. They didn't look surprised to see me, the archon's face actually showing glee instead. You see, our quest has not been fruitful after all. An Adeptus Sororitas has placed herself upon my very ship. You are correct, Archon. Stop talking like I'm not here, I spat at them, aiming my bolter so it would fire upon the Archon first. What are you talking about? Ah, and why should I tell you? The Archon said. You have been hostile to us since we have landed. Anyone would be hostile if someone showed up and loaded their citizens onto a ship like cattle. Ah, very true. But normally we wouldn't attack a world without knowing we would have success. Why do you think we have done so here? When I didn't answer, his smile widened, giving him a disturbed look. It is because a small company of sisters was here on the planet. What? I finally responded. What do you need us for? You load citizens to your dark city because they have the ability to connect to the warp that you no longer process. Ah, yes, this is true, the Archon said, nodding. These willing citizens will be tortured for our enjoyment. I wouldn't call this willing. But the Trueborns want to experiment upon one who can call upon the Emperor of mankind for miracles. You have psychic power that is not like these kettles outside. Trueborns, are you still using that absolute shit of a system? It is a system that works well for us. An outdated caste system for a delusional, outdated civilization. Say what you want, but you're coming with us. And I'd rather not. I let one shot ring out, the incubi moving to protect the Archon, and I ran. I had only seconds left to get off the ship before the grenade went off, and I could hear the incubi right behind me. I've been called many things in my years of fighting, but a fool was not one of them. No way I could take on an incubi with a grenade about to go off, and I just cleared the ship's entrance when it went off. The negative side of it was that I was now in front of an army of Drukhari, and had an incubi just behind me. In a split decision, I ran to the right, rolling under one of the ships hauling citizens off planet, and kept running once I was up. As I ran back up the street, hearing the thunderous footsteps of an army behind me, I could only imagine the shocked look on my commander's face. The shock was on mine as I heard the unmistakable sound of drop ships punctuating the atmosphere. I had to dive off to the right again, finding myself in the town's fountain to avoid a drop ship that fell right where I was. The drop pods fell upon the Drukhari forces, crushing them as they made craters in the ground. The doors opened and I got a glimpse of white armor before the incubi jumped on me. Unprepared for the attack, I fell back into the fountain, and the incubi held me under the water. The back of my helmet connected with the sturdy marble, and I felt the crack before the cold water washed into my helmet. I fought against the incubi to get my head above the water, but his grip was unbreakable. Abandoning the useless fight, I reached for my boot, pulling out a knife I had concealed there, and held my breath. After laying still for a few minutes, the incubi seemed to think I was dead or passed out, and his grip loosened, which was his first mistake. Moving quickly, I reached up, stabbing the knife deep into his side, between the sheets of his armor, making him pull away in shock. Getting out of the water, I ripped off my helmet, gasping for air. My mind worked, even without the oxygen, and I reached for one of the Drukhari weapons. Turning it just in time as the incubi pulled the knife out of his side, I shot him in the open wound. He would now die by the same poison he had killed the Militarum with. As he fell to his knees, his agonized screaming was faint in my ears as I took deep breaths of air. Then a figure appeared over me, as I could see the white of the silhouette. Then it spoke. "Come now, Gwen," You can't die on me yet." I smiled at my commander's voice as she helped me up. Still holding the bolter, I moved back into the battle, my brain clearer now. Though the battle was nearly over, I saw the archon rushing his men back onto the ships, taking the citizens off the planet as well. The captain of the White Scars came over looking at us. "An eventful battle," he said, nodding at the dead incubi on the ground. "A grand victory for you, sister. When we heard that the Drukhari were here, we felt our aid might be needed." "They were here for us." My commander looked at me curiously. "The archon said they wanted to try experimenting on us?" "The Drukhari are far beyond reason," the captain said, nodding. "We are going to pursue them, save the citizens. Do you wish to join us?" My captain looked at me and I nodded in agreement. She took off her own helmet, placing it upon my head. "May the Emperor guide you, Gwen." Thank you for coming to this tale of St. Gwen. If you liked it, please give it a like, comment down below, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.